How's everybody doing today? I'm your speaker, Will Schwab. I hope my virtual audience is staying safe and sound during this pandemic. Now, I'm here today to convince you that the use of alcohol is just as dangerous as any illegal drug found on the streets of America. How am I going to do that? Three ways. One, talk about the stigmas associated with each. Two, talk about the short and long term data trends that say what your behavior is going to do to society while on each. And three, the short and long term trends on how it affects the user by using each. Now, why am I qualified to talk on this? Well, my cards are face up, and I'll be completely honest with you guys. When I was younger, I didn't make the best decisions, and I indulged in both. And I know how it affected me mentally, spiritually, and physically. So I'm hoping to shed a little bit of light on that and share a piece of myself with you folks today, if I'm being quite frank. Now, when we think about the stigma of each, let's talk about the history. Today, alcohol is culturally intertwined in your veins and you just don't even realize it. Whether you're watching a Super Bowl Bud Light ad or having a champagne toast at a wedding reception, alcohol's around and it's constantly presented to you. Now, it wasn't always like that. From 1920 to 1933, America was in the Prohibition era, which the 18th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution banned the sales of alcohol. However, that did not stop speakeasies from operating and illegally selling alcohol. Now, the violence was unprecedented, and Congress knew they had to do something about it. So then they created the 21st Amendment, which repealed the 18th Amendment and made alcohol legal as it is today. Now, thinking about legal drugs, let's use marijuana because honestly, it's the only one we can compare unless it's a doctor writing you a prescription for whatever. Marijuana is only recreationally legal in 16 states. And there are only 7 states in America that do not allow the use of marijuana, whether it's recreationally or medicinally. That's a lot of ground to cover if you want to get legalized drugs on a federal level. However, just a few weeks ago, the state of Oregon decriminalized a lot of hard major drugs like meth, heroin, and coke, and also legalized the use of magic mushrooms. So we can see drugs have a long way to go to catch the stigma of alcohol when it comes to one major word: legality. That legality is, in my opinion, why people feel that it's much safer to drink alcohol than it is to use illegal drugs, although the information says quite different. Now, one of my favorite quotes is from a woman named Kelly Fitzgerald. She says that alcohol is still more common than drugs, but bartenders and Bud White distributors are not looked at like cocaine and heroin dealers. That's a very powerful quote because it just tells you that stigma is a reason that makes one feel okay and not okay, or a reason why society accepts one but rejects the other. Now, why would our stigma make us feel like this? Well, being raised in Tennessee, I can personally tell you that life in Tennessee is much different than life on the West Coast. And I feel that a major reason for that is religion. Now, in religion, it's always good versus bad, right versus wrong. Using drugs is a crime, so it's automatically wrong. That's an entirely different perception to where right now on the West Coast you can walk into a store and buy marijuana. So clearly society is going to perceive alcohol as being morally okay and morally right, and illegal drugs is not because it's simply not a crime. I really want to jam that down people's minds that legality plays such a major reason to why drug users face a certain stigma that alcohol users never have to face. Now, when you think about what thoughts people come to mind when looking at an alcoholic versus a drug user, so the opinion is, well, I'm just going out to have a couple of drinks that night. One of my jams used to be the Yin Yang Twins. Get low, get low. I'm on the dance floor. I'm having a good time. Yeah, let's go, right? That's what people tend to think about when it's alcohol. But what about drugs? Oh, no, man. Mike, he does heroin. He's a loser. He's a lowlife. All he does is rob and steal and plot on his next way to get high. Well, my friends, I have a major revelation for you. There are a ton of crimes linked to alcohol. Now, when we think about some of those crimes, obviously the first one that comes to mind is DUI. Another good one, domestic assault. And what about another good one? Sexual assault. Did you know that you are 600 times more likely to cause a vehicular collision under the influence of alcohol than sober? Now, what about drugs? Only 10 times. That's a major number, 600 to 10 times. Now, let's even go to domestic assault. It's no secret. You get drink, you drink, you get drunk, you get a little tuned up, you get aggressive. Let's go! Arr! That's how domestic assaults happen. The numbers again do not favor alcohol. From the Bureau of Justice Statistics, 66% of all spousal victims, 66% of all spousal victims, I had to say that again, it was a lot to say quickly, reported that their spouse was under the influence of alcohol when that altercation took place. That's 2/3 of all domestic assaults between marriages claiming alcohol to be a contributing factor. Now, what about drugs? Only 21%. Again, the data doesn't support alcohol. Now, what about a major problem college campuses face all over America? Sexual assault. A lot of people get taken advantage of when they get blacked out or passed out. 80% of reported sexual assault cases on college campuses report that either the perpetrator or the victim or both were under the influence of alcohol when they got taken advantage of. Now, when you think about how the numbers affect society, now the drug user isn't the only one that looks like a burglar or a robber or a guy that breaks the law. A couple of drinks can lead to you breaking the law in major ways. Now, when you think about the end user, how using alcohol or drugs affects you, they all lead to the same problems: addiction, physical, mental impairment, long-term cancers. Everything's the same in that regard. But what about death? Death is the ultimate finish line to addiction, right? Again, I hate to tell you, my friends, but 88,000 deaths a year are linked to alcohol intake. What about drugs? 30,000 for all combined. If that doesn't change your mind about any of this, I don't know what will. And I can tell you personally, blacking out from drinking is not cool. When you wake up the next day and do not recollect anything from the night before, I put that right up there with tapping your vein to shoot up. So my friends, stay safe, and please, I don't want to see you become another statistic. Thank you.